uses the dagger.
Illegal substitution, too many men on the field, Saskatchewan.
Gizmo has a block and the sideline. He has not stepped out. He may go all the way. He needs one block and he'll do it easily.
Promise Mess I wouldn't do this.
McDavid stops up. What a move. Shoots. Scores!
Hey everybody, welcome to The Outsiders, powered by the Macintosh Group at RE/MAX River City. I'm Bryn Griffiths, he's Robin Brownlee. How you doing, Robin?
I'm outstanding, man.
Looking forward to this one today. We're going to talk about the BC Lions and their new incoming president, Duane Vienneau. He'll be joining us on this podcast. But first things first, let's check in with our friend Daren Millard, who's the host of the Las Vegas Golden Knight hockey broadcasts on AT&T Sportsnet. And also he's got a podcast going. We'll chat with him about that. It's called The Chirp. Daren, where are you? You're in Prince Edward Island right now, Daren?
I am. I'm looking to the about 11 o'clock from me right now is the Confederation Bridge. And at about 6 o'clock from me, maybe about 4 o'clock, is Doug McLean. He's not in the room right now, but he lives over there.
So is he?
So yeah, just hanging out in Prince Edward Island.
Is he the reason?
Where we have a place.
Is he the reason why all of a sudden the love for PEI? Because you're still also a Prairie kid.
I am. My wife and I, she's from Hamilton, and we were all living in Toronto. We came to visit Doug and Jill about 12 years ago and fell in love with it over the course of a weekend and invested in a property here and built our retirement home. Now, it felt like a long way from retirement then. It feels really close to retirement now. I can tell you that.
That'll happen. Yeah, that'll happen. I hear you.
Yeah.
So let's back things up a little bit here.
I've been through a couple of retirements.
Yeah, well, it's the media business. What can I tell you? But okay, so let's back things up. You start at Global in Winnipeg after some fun times at Western Academy of Broadcasting in Saskatoon. You're from Brandon. ITV, where we got to know you in Edmonton. Then you move over to Sportsnet in 1999 and eventually find your way to Las Vegas. And you're now obviously the host, the go-to guy there on the intermissions on the AT&T Sportsnet network. But let's back things up a little bit here. What made you want to get into broadcasting?
I wasn't a very good player. That's first and foremost, and I still wanted to be around the rink. So actually, I got hurt. I was trying to play junior A hockey, and I got hurt. And I did color for our radio guy, Steve Adamski, way back when at CKDM in Dauphin, and I had a blast doing it. And I enjoyed the free popcorn and being around my teammates, but also didn't have the pressure of having to let down my teammates. So that part of it was fun, and you got to talk a little bit about the sport. So when I went back to Brandon, I kind of continued along that path and got some great mentorship from somebody named Rick Dillabough at a place called CKLQ, which I eventually worked with Drager, and just fell in love with it. I've always been stats driven, had always been that way. It took me a long time to deliver the papers on Tuesdays because the NHL stats would come out. So I've always been along that line, and I've been able to do my hobby as a career for the last 30 plus years.
Now, you're not an old guy yet, Daren, but you just dated yourself a little bit. There's kids out there who are going to be going, stats in the newspapers. Stats?
Yes, I know. I know.
Waiting for the agate page in the newspapers. That doesn't. Now you just click on the phone and there's your stats, right?
Like, you don't have to wait for the weekly goals against numbers to come out every Tuesday, which I believe those were in the Brandon Sun, and the full complement of stats, whether goals and assists and all that kind of stuff. That all came out. Now it is a click of the button. We're very spoiled to the point where I sit here and I'm going through salary cap research over the course of the last couple of days, and I'm like, do I really need to be doing this? But you kind of do have to be doing it. Way back when, it was a much simpler time.
Okay, so the Global and ITV thing in Winnipeg and Edmonton, that gave you an opportunity to jump to Sportsnet. That's a great jump for you. And tell us a little bit about the Sportsnet experience, because you moved up beautifully there.
Yeah, it was. First of all, like ITV in Edmonton, global. I wasn't there for a long time, but I was there during the switchover between ITV to global. But that was a great time in my life. I loved it, and with Linda Steele was amazing. The team that we had around there was awesome, and I would have been very comfortable to spend my entire life in Edmonton had the Sportsnet opportunity not come along. And that was just something that you couldn't say no to, an upstart network. And I'll be honest, like, I didn't know that we weren't supposed to work. Like, when I went to Edmonton and got the opportunity in Toronto, I thought, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to be here forever. Then I found out about 6-7 years later that Sportsnet was never really supposed to work. TSN people all thought it was a flash in the pan and would be gone. So I'm glad I didn't know that then, because it would have been a lot more stressful. But I got to hook back up with Dregs and work with, get to know John Garrett and Nick Kiprios and some amazing. Kevin Quinn was my anchor partner, and it was awesome. I got to do so many different things, from tennis to golf to all the hockey that I got to cover, curling. I was very fortunate that they trusted me to handle a lot of different assignments in a very short period of time.
You know, it's interesting, Darren. I was telling Bryn earlier this morning, I remember interviewing Vic Rauter in about 1983, 84, when TSN was starting. And the other people in town were a bit pissed that I had the exclusive interview with him. And some of the questions later were, well, how do we even know it's going to be around 2 years from now? Well, yeah, it's, you know what, if you don't try, it doesn't go anywhere. So getting in, relatively speaking, on the ground floor of things, that had to be a real exciting time.
Well, you got to do and try a lot of different things. Yeah. Our sportscast, Robin, then we do 4 of them a night, one for the East, one for Ontario, one for the West, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and then BC. So by the time you get to Alberta, which is your third one, you're changing things up. You're entertaining yourself as much as anybody else. So you try a bunch of different things, which helps you as a broadcaster. Now, that said, we got ourselves into trouble the odd time trying to do some of that stuff, but it was an ability to spread your wings a little bit and go along a different path. Like, not everything we did worked by any means, but boy, oh boy, was it an opportunity to just try, fail, and get yourself back up, because you had another show in another half hour.
You did some Olympic stuff too. How was that?
Yeah. That was amazing. I've done Olympics in every different facet, and part of this conversation, we've been through that experience, and there's challenges in Olympic Games. But the first one I did was 2002 in Salt Lake City, where I was a non-rights holder, and you're on the other side of the fence. Elliot Friedman and he worked at the Score, I worked at Sportsnet, and you waited for people to come to you. You had to book appointments or go to Canada House and talk to Jamie Slay and David Pelletier or Wayne Gretzky or Jerome McGinley at a movie theater across the street from the hockey rink, because you couldn't get into the game unless you bought a ticket.
Right.
And so there was that part of it. Then I was a rights holder in London and Vancouver, and then I worked for the games themselves in Tokyo in the production side of it. So I've done all different aspects of it. Being a rights holder, I will say, is the best part about it, because you do usually one sport and you can sink your teeth into that. But it's so cool. I always wanted to do one, just to have a sweater or a tracksuit. I just wanted to do one, and being able to do 4 of them has been awesome. And I still want to do a couple more, hopefully before I'm done. My boss in Tokyo was a guy from Brandon as well. So that was kind of neat. So I'm gonna I've hooked my wagon to Drager for a while, and now I'm gonna go on with Trevor Pilling.
There is a definite Brandon connection though here. We'll get to it in a second. Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think I might be stealing your second, Bryn. I was going to say, from Darren going from the Keystone Center to Vegas is a pretty big leap. But you're not the only guy to make that leap. The situation there's got to be fun and interesting and really just a neat thing, given the relationship that you have with some of the people that are running that Vegas show.
Well, at the very top is Kelly McCrimmon, who I've known forever, since before he was an owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings, and then the coach and the general manager, and we were in fantasy football leagues together, and we knew each other as friends, and somebody that was covering his hockey club, and now work alongside him is such a cool thing. I don't see Kelly as much as I'd like, because he's got a slightly more impactful job than I do on a day-to-day basis with the team as the general manager. But it's not just Kelly. It's amazing. Our director of amateur scouting is Bob Lowe's, who coached the Brandon Wheat Kings when I covered the team. And I just had breakfast with him in Vegas, and we were looking at each other going, we're in a casino in Vegas, two prairie guys going, what's going on here? He's getting ready for the draft, and I'm covering the National Hockey League. So there's that. There's Zach Whitecloud from Brandon, Keegan Colasar's in Manitoba, Mark Stone's in Manitoba and played for the Brandon Wheat Kings. It goes so deep. Ryan Craig was a captain of the Brandon Wheat Kings and played for the Brandon Wheat Kings. He's one of our assistant coaches. There's I counted out one day, there was 3 sets of Manitoba plates in our parking lot. Shane Noddy is our analyst. He's from Neepawa, Manitoba, just outside of Brandon. He was born in Brandon. So it's really cool to have that feel. We don't talk Brandon all the time, but it's neat to have that connection. I'm not going to lie to you. When Keegan pulls out and his plates are Manitoba, my heart bulges a little bit.
So when you go from the Sportsnet situation to Las Vegas, that's a sizable jump for a Canadian kid from Brandon. How was that for you?
You know what? I will say this. Having been, you guys have been to the United States 1,000 times. You go across the border, it's the same country, but you go across the border.
Right.
Like nothing really changes. When you live in the United States and move there, it's very different. So it was a challenge. Thank goodness we have amazing people at the Vegas Golden Knights that help you through the immigration and turning your driver's license and everything. Like it's a workload. You have no credit history. Like you go from a credit card in Canada to a credit card in the United States where you get a $1,500 limit. It's like you're 16 again, or 17. I don't know when you guys get to your credit card, but so it was a challenge. But the actual work part, which is amazing, I love. I can't. I've always wanted. My wife worked for the Toronto Maple Leafs for 15 years. And we've always talked about working for a team at some point in my career, and I love it. Being invested and being able to have somebody to cheer for, and not just going home and getting ready for your next game next Wednesday is awesome. I absolutely get to be a pseudo fan and a broadcaster all at the same time. It's awesome. And you live in Las Vegas, which is not that hard thing to get used to.
You know, it's interesting, Daren. I think I've probably been to Vegas 50 or 60 times, not because I'm a big gambler, but having covered the boxing beat for a long time, and also AAA with the Trappers and the Las Vegas Stars. I thought it's really cool when they got the team. But at the same time, I was thinking, is this a transient city still where you're not going to have that base where it's going to fly? Once the initial novelty wears off, is it going to fly in Vegas? And it's not the initial novelty 4 years in. It seems to be doing just fine. What's your take from the inside?
Well, it's far more of a local team than you would ever expect from the outside. It slaps you over the side of the head when you walk in. The driver's licenses, the T-shirts, it's like the team's been around for 25 years. Quite honestly, I came here in year number 3, so I've been in Vegas for the last 3 years. It was an instant bond, and they do a promotion or one of those scoreboard things in the third period, and the loudest cheer is they flash. So like, if you're a tourist, cheer. and there's some cheers, and then for locals, cheer, and the place erupts. Like it is absolutely a Vegas team. And you get when Chicago's in town, or Calgary, or Edmonton, or on a swing, you'll get people coming down for a weekend, and some certainly a presence there. But by and large, like every crowd is very much supporting the Vegas Golden Knights. And if you haven't been to a game, honestly, it's a nightclub. And then when the hockey starts, it goes into a hockey game. And then the play stops, it turns into a nightclub. It's one of the craziest, coolest things I've ever seen. When you even now, 3 years in, I'll still look around the rink going, is this really happening right now?
Huh.
Hey, when you take a look at the experience in Las Vegas with this hockey club, you were first. You beat the Raiders to the punch. It just seems like there's a little bit more, as big as football is in the U.S., you guys were first in there.
Oh, yeah.
And you were able to kind of find your way into their hearts first, because a lot of leagues didn't want to come there. The National Hockey League came there with a great deal of excitement for every reason. Do you find that bond is really amazing?
Well, because hockey was the first professional sports team. So that was their first real team. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you that there was no doubts going into it. There was plenty of people that thought that it wouldn't work. Professional sports wouldn't work. There was too many distractions. The seedy side of Sin City would grab a hold of athletes. Like there was that discussion in different circles, but it hasn't been a part of it, at least on the hockey side of it. And the 1 October, that tragedy helped the Golden Knights and their bond with the city. Certainly helped out too. And I'll just say one other thing. The Vegas Golden Knights are unique. The Las Vegas Raiders, that's a team that came from somewhere else and kept its name and just put Las Vegas in the front of it. The Vegas Golden Knights are truly Vegas born and bred. And there's a hashtag Vegas born, and that will never end.
The other thing, too, let's talk about a new head coach coming on board.
Yes.
Bruce Cassidy. One of my favorite lines so far this year, that he was out of work for 4 days. He just said he was getting bored of being out of work for 4 days. But how's he going to fit in with this organization and with the team? And how much is the team going to change over the offseason?
Well, that's a really good question, one that I probably can't answer to the fullest extent that I'd like to for you. But like Pete DeBoer, I love Pete and everything how he structures it, and can't wait for him to grab hold of that Dallas Stars team. Butch is different. Bruce Cassidy is different. He probably has a harder edge to him. I think there's less rope probably with Bruce and the way he coaches teams. So I think that there'll be that aspect to it. Pete let the veterans handle things a little bit more. And to be quite honest, Pete had the craziest 2.5 years that you can imagine, right during the pandemic and everything. So I don't know whether he ever got to be fully into a groove by any means. But Butch, I think Bruce will certainly have a little bit shorter rope with him. Guys, the break for the Colorado Avalanche between the third round and the Stanley Cup final was longer than Bruce Cassidy was out of work. Yeah. That's the amazing part. And I mention that because I'm jealous of him.
Hey, you mentioned the Cup in Colorado. They're an unbelievable team, but you spent some time here for the first time in a long time, and it took a young coach in Jay Woodcroft to accomplish it. This Edmonton Oilers team, with two of arguably the best players on the planet on it, finally made some noise. And of course, it took the Avalanche to take them out of things. There's quite a buzz here in Edmonton. What do you think when you look at this team in your old stomping grounds?
I like it. I'm a guy that is a big Mike Smith fan. I know that there's a lot of noise around goaltending in Edmonton. I certainly hear that loud and clear, and I'm curious which direction they're going to go on that, and which direction Mike is going to go at. Quite frankly, I just think he got worn out playing every second day for that run, and that caught up to him. But I think there's so much to be positive about what they've done, and all kind of team together. The Zach Hyman acquisition over the last couple of years has been great and added some depth to it, and what they've been able to do to their back end and be more dynamic. You're watching that with the Colorado defense and certainly the Tampa Bay blue line. What they've been able to do, that you don't have to be defend, that you can push the pace and try to win a game 5-4 or 5-3. I love that style. I mean, there's fundamentals certainly, and Jay has that, but I'm really excited to see what they can do. Now, what happens with Kane? What happens with a couple of other players that they certainly need to address? That's going to be interesting. You see as well. We'll watch and see. But I like the direction that the Oilers are going, which kind of reflects the way the league is going right now.
I've got to ask this, and I think Bryn actually mentioned him to me before I gave him much thought, because I haven't seen him. But I just realized watching that Cup final how I'm trying to think of another defenseman who's come into the league and gone from raw rookie to what I think is the best defenseman in the league in as short a time as Cale Makar's done it. Do you recall anybody?
No, not with that type of success. I was going through it this morning, and being the Calder Trophy and the Norris Trophy and the Conn Smythe Trophy, and then a Stanley Cup championship, and going through all of this in 4 years, making your Stanley Cup playoff debut and being able to score a goal. I will say that the Oilers series didn't last nearly as long as I was hoping it, but may have done the most, in my mind, to make Cale Makar, or consider Cale Makar, a complete defenseman. You guys remember that play where Connor had a step on everybody, and then Cale tries to track him down and knocks the puck away. And from a defending aspect, that just, I can't get that out of my mind, and it just makes Cale Makar, completes the whole package of Cale Makar, from an offensive guy to a 200-foot guy, which is, I know, weird to say because he's a defenseman. It's extraordinary. And think about that draft, guys. Colorado is the worst team in the National Hockey League that year. They didn't win the lottery, and they got ripped off by the odds in that, and had to be really feeling sorry for themselves. And then Heischer and Patrick and Heiskanen go, and they fall to fourth, and they get Cale Makar. If they win the lottery,
they probably don't take
Cale Makar. Even though in retrospect you see that you would, but you don't get the biggest break in the franchise right now in the Stanley Cup was probably losing that draft lottery and falling to 4.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Nathan McKinnon, just, hoisting the cup, you're very excited. He just seemed to be almost so satisfied, because he had taken such a beating for the last few years about why can't you get over the hump? Why can't you get over the hump? And he just seemed like he was numb watching that game. It was just great to watch how he responded to it, and you could see the satisfaction on his face. Did you see that?
Oh, absolutely. And I watched it firsthand a year ago when they were up 2-0 on Vegas and lost 4 in a row, and the incredible emotion that came out of him after that series. And I wondered out loud whether they would make a change at coach. And it's another one of those ones where we've seen Jay Woodcroft comes in and ignites Edmonton, but there's also the other side where you can, if you're patient, maybe that move you don't make is the best one. And I'm really happy for that. But I think for Nathan, he's a kid. He's never stopped being a kid in a lot of our eyes, and he loves the game as a kid. So you appreciate that from that aspect. And he doesn't have to do those Tim Horton commercials with Sid. and have Sid Beacom off camera about not having a ring anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's really important too. That might be the biggest thing for Nate, is not have to listen to Sid talk about all of his rings. Now he's got one himself.
And how about Nazem Kadri just basically shoving it up the ass of the Toronto Maple Leaf fans with his little comment after about I just thought, wow, you want to talk about a mic drop?
Look, I didn't like it. I'm not a stick in the mud by any means, but I didn't like it because, Naz, quite honestly, there's a reason why people said that.
Yes.
And it wasn't a one-off.
Yeah.
It was a 2, it was a 3, and it was with 2 different teams. So, yeah, you won, and you had a great year, and it turned out well for you. But this idea that everybody was wrong and you persevered and came out on the right side of it is a little bit muddy, a little bit cloudy, and that I'm happy for him, but like the doubts were there for a reason, and they were well earned by him. And I thought it was a bit of a cheap shot by him. It sort of happened too with the Jordan Binnington live interview. I don't know whether you guys saw that when Binnington was accused and then admitted they threw the little water bottle at him. Like, take the high road once in a while, and people will like you a lot more. That's just my opinion. And I know Naz. I've been around Naz a long time, and I like him. He's been on my podcast. But just every now and then, you don't have to be the center of attention.
As Todd Marchant once called guys like that, they're opera singers. And I went, what?
Yeah.
He goes, me. But
I'm with you. You know what? You kind of, in one way, okay. He shoots his mouth off people. It makes for a good clip, but I'm with you. I'm with you on it, Darren. There's a reason. Anybody who's watched the guy play hockey and been around the guy, they understand. One last one for me, Darren. Different dynamic in Vegas than this. Often expansion, new teams, relocated teams, whatever. When you're new, and it takes a while to find any success at all.
Right.
Vegas has missed that dry patch at the start of their existence. Yeah, they have a great party down there in the rink, and they have a lot of entertainment, but they've also had a good hockey club that's won some games, and we're closer than anybody ever as an expansion team to having the ultimate success. So what do you do next to keep the ball rolling?
You win it all. That's what owner Bill Foley's talked about, is he wants to win it all and get to the top of the mountain and have that parade down the strip. And what a sight that would be. I'd be lying if in getting to back-to-back conference finals, that thought process hadn't entered my mind. But that's exactly what the goal of this team is, and it's one of the coolest things about working for the hockey club and covering them on a daily basis is they want to win. Now, I will acknowledge missing the playoffs for the first time wasn't part of that plan, but the way they missed the playoffs, it wasn't like a terrible year performance-wise, and you're looking at me going, what do you mean by that? But they had so many injuries. It wasn't because everybody flopped at the same time and they missed because of underperforming. They had so many injuries. So the fan base and everybody else has gone through that once, but didn't have to go through the misery of what people in Edmonton or different Calgary or places have gone through where you've had to reload and get back going again. So I think that they now probably appreciate it. I certainly do appreciate it a lot more, and then they can run it back next year. And I expect them from some of the little drops that we're hearing about the roster, they're going to run it back next year. And I think that that's going to add to the enthusiasm a little bit more.
Hey, just looking at you right now, you're looking great. There was a time, though, this past season when I was watching your broadcasts and you look like a raccoon with the two black eyes because of an accident. What happened? Because we're all worried about you, man. What happened?
Well, short answer, I don't know totally.
Yeah.
So I like to bike. I do like to bike or road bike, and Vegas is a perfect place for it because you can do it 12 months a year. But I was actually going to the practice rink where we have a studio there, and I do our daily radio show on our Fox affiliate, and something happened in between, but I woke up in the hospital, and apparently I don't know whether I got hit or I hit a rock or what have you, but I like to say the helmet saved me, but it doesn't look like the helmet got a lot of it because my face took up the brunt of it, and I went over. Yeah, I will give my boss full accolades. He let me come back. I missed 4 games. The first game, I had stitches, black eyes, everything. The second game, I don't remember a lot of that one either.
Okay,
but he let me come back. I'm healed and everything, but it could have been. My wife says it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot better, somewhere in the middle. And I got got a lot of exposure to the U.S. healthcare system. So that was good too.
Was there concussion protocol on that, or was this a lower body injury?
It was full upper body. It didn't take a lot to know that. And we all like to do research. Certainly, Robin leads the way on that. I now know what people feel when they have a concussion. I don't have to wonder about that at all. And I have full respect. I wish I could go back in time. I said to Kipper, now I understand, Kiprios. Now I understand what you went through all those times when you weren't listening to me. It wasn't just you. You were just fading out, man.
And the podcast. Let's touch on that quickly here. The Chirp.
It's the Chirp podcast. It's with the National Hockey League, and Bob Bender's our producer. He's great, and it's some of it's topical. The interviews, it's like this. We cover a little bit of hockey. We cover a little bit of life. I never know where the interviews are going to go, and it allows me to. I work for the Vegas Golden Knights, but allows me to keep my foot on the national side of it and covering the league. So that it's a huge blessing for me, and we in the podcast community. Guys, you know it. We lean on each other, and we're all trying to do our thing. And there's so many incredible productions out there. Like you guys have a Rolodex. If people remember what a Rolodex was, of guests that you can lean on, and there's so many great stories out there. So I'm just happy to be a part of your community.
Well, travel safely. Thanks for your time today. We'll do this again during the season. Okay.
I want to know what Brownlee's picture is behind him. I know people can't see it, but I want to know what that is.
Yeah, what is that?
It's sort of my brain exploding as we talk.
Okay, actually does look like that.
You know what? It's the one piece of art that doesn't fit the house. It's black and silver. I'm not an Oakland Raiders fan, but it's from a house a couple things ago when it was a black and white decorating theme, and it's just made its way into our new house. But
Bachelor Day photo is what it is. I
can't bring look at the thing over the fruit salad behind you.
Yeah, he's got a psychedelic picture. Is that your TV that you got the screensaver
Peter
on?
Loubardias always says it's just I get very dizzy with my vertigo, and it's just I think it's your basic Windows screensaver.
Cannabis is legal
on the big
now.
screen and behind me. So, hey, listen, thanks very much.
Loubardias could turn that. He could turn that into some kind of Hockey Canada storyline. I guarantee you, Loubardias could look at that and go, "There's number 27, and he passed a 5." Yeah.
A fine product out of Manitoba in Brandon. I've got some fond memories there. I don't want to. Hey, by the way, I'm glad you gave Rick Dillabough a big plug because he stepped away finally from his work with the Brandon Wheat Kings, and he did color for me when I was doing Moose Jaw Warrior games. He was
really?
He was. I mean, he's Mr. Brandon. That's how I view Rick Dillabough.
He's awesome.
So.
And
yeah, he's one of the best, and a great play-by-play guy too.
Yes,
who is just comfortable living in Brandon. But he can you think about the opportunities now that you can go. It's awesome. But Loubardias, the only guy I've ever worked with who would do highlights without a script. He knew every league, he knew every player, and he would just do play-by-play of the highlights. I've never understood how he did it. A freak of nature, massively talented. Love the man.
That's funny too. And last thing for me, the Brandon connection. I used to, the trip out to the Keystone from Kamloops was a long bus ride. The last Blazer game I ever did before coming to the Edmonton Journal was the Blazers and the Wheat Kings, and it was Paul Cruz and Jeff Odgers beating the shit out of each other in a face-punching contest at center ice. It was unbelievable. Turned out to be the last one. So that's how it's a different name now, but that's how I remember the Keystone.
Yeah, I still call it the Keystone Center, and people correct me all the time. Audrey and I went to high school together with Kevin Cheveldayoff. Kevin Cheveldayoff got me through grade 12 math because I copied off him all the time. But Audrey was one tough son of a gun.
Thanks for your time. We'll give Peter the last say on this one, but you'll have to listen to hear what he's going to say. But it's typical Peter. Thanks, Daren. This has been a blast, man.
You guys are awesome. Love it.
Can you believe what we just saw?
The British Columbia Lions made a big announcement this past week, and that is Rick Dillabough, who we all know in the Edmonton area, has been around here forever, has been looking after things with the BC Lions as their president, but decided that it was time to retire again. It just seems like he always finds these new gigs that are exciting and fun, and he takes them on, does a great job, and then he hands them off to somebody else who's great and is growing. And Duane Vienneau joins us on the podcast today, who will be the COO of the BC Lions to start coming up in August, and then he will eventually move into the president's role, but he joins us on the podcast today. How you doing?
Very good, Bryn. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Well, how exciting is
Robin.
this? Wow.
I got to say hi to Robin too, Bryn.
Yes, I hear that, and that's exciting. So, when did this kind of come your way, man?
It sort of has happened quickly. Obviously, and everyone knows locally, I've worked with Rick for a lot of years in different capacities. And we figured it out the other day. It's been over 30 years since the first time we worked on something together. So that's a long time. And, just there's some conversations started and here you go. But it's when we first started talking, it didn't take long to get to where we are today. Now,
What about this particular challenge, Duane, appeals to you so much? Because you're up to your eyeballs already in the CFL. Your association goes back a long ways now. Is this just a new chapter for you?
Yeah, I've been around the league a long time in different capacities, and I've worked at the team level. I've ran a few Grey Cups from the host festival committee level. My current role with the CFL, and so I know the league very, very well. I look at everything I've been through in the many years and the different projects I've worked on, and I just always gravitate back to the CFL, and I love it so much. And when this opportunity came up to ultimately become the president of the BC Lions, it's something that you just can't. I said to Randy Ambrosie when I told him that I was leaving, who is obviously the commissioner of the league, I said, I love my job, Randy. Like, I've got the best job in the world, but there's only one job that would take me out of here, and that's this one. And I'm just very excited about it. I think there's a new owner who's very energetic, enthusiastic. The team's playing well. And there's just something going on there that I believe that is exciting, and I believe I have the right skills and to take it and help steward it to the next level.
You also have the ability to pick Rick's brain over the next 6 months as you ease your way in. That's got to be very comforting.
Absolutely. Amar and Rick have put together a transition plan, which was perfect. Rick's going to be around till the end of December. And it also helps from the CFL perspective, because it gives me the ability as well to then transition from the CFL side, because again, we don't want anything to sort of fall through the cracks there. So it was a very conscious effort to make sure that the CFL and the BC Lions both have a very, very good transition plan.
Now, Duane, Vancouver's my hometown, so I know all about it. Not your hometown, but you've been out as a visitor. You're going to be out there as a resident soon enough. Talk about moving to the left coast. It's going to be a little bit different for somebody like you.
Yeah, I've never lived anywhere outside of Edmonton for forever, and I've been traveling a lot lately. So I've been across this country a lot, and but Vancouver is just such a beautiful, beautiful place, and the people are friendly, and I'm really looking forward to it. Like from a personal perspective, it's a great opportunity to go and embrace into the community. That's the number one goal for me. As you guys both know, for being from Edmonton, I have a very strong network in this marketplace, and I want to go and build a very, very strong network in the Vancouver and greater Vancouver area. And I'm excited about it. My family's excited about it, and it's a great opportunity for us.
Great city, but sure, can you get a latte? I'm sure you'll be able to manage that. You'll figure that out. Hey, you know what? Taking a look at your track record and looking at your resume. So 2005 to 2009, president, Edmonton Rush. So lacrosse team, check. Tour Alberta, cycling, president, CEO from 2012 to 2017. So check. There's another area. Grey Cup committee in Edmonton in 2018. Did a great job with that. And then the league takes you on in this position, which was the chief Grey Cup and events officer. How has that gone for you? It just seems like that whole thing keeps building and building. And you also have Touchdown Atlantic coming up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking about the Grey Cup role with the CFL, it was really, Randy's vision, Randy Ambrosie's vision is some, the Grey Cup over time has been really host driven, right? So if you look in Edmonton, you guys are very familiar with Edmonton, the deal would be the host club being the Edmonton, then the Eskimos, now the Elks, would buy the rights off the league, go run the event. But the next year, the next club might buy the rights off, and there maybe wasn't that transfer of knowledge, that continuity, that constant brand build, the constant drive for excellence, because it was basically a start and a stop business. So he said, Duane, why don't you come on board with us and let's create continuity here, work very closely with our host clubs, and let's take Grey Cup to the next level. And it was really, you got to give a lot of credit to Randy for the vision. And so far it's working really, really, really well. And the economic model of Grey Cup has changed as well, where 2018, the Grey Cup that was hosted in Edmonton was the first year that the host clubs used to generate all the net profit, and now it's a revenue share piece. So the host club gets a big percentage of the revenue or the net profit, but then the remainder goes and gets shared with all the rest of the clubs on an annual basis. So every club is buying in. Every club wants Grey Cup to do well, and just that camaraderie of taking the crown jewel of the league to the next level has been very successful.
Now, Duane, this is a bit of an odd question in that you are transitioning from sort of league-wide thoughts and responsibilities with what you're doing now to the BC Lions down the road. I want to look at that bigger picture. I was a kid who sat in Empire Stadium watching the BC Lions before there was a BC place. How, and I know you can't speak to specifics about the Lions now, great crowd to start the year, not so great around the league, the second week in. What's the way forward for this league? Because it seems to me the league as a whole is kind of feeling its way along right now to see where it fits and how it grabs those fans back and gets them into the ballparks.
Yeah, that's a good question, Robin. What I'll say is that I feel incredibly excited about where we are today. And why that is we lost a season in 2020. Mm-hmm. And then last year, 2021, if you just look back to the bit of the last couple of years, we had a shortened season. Yeah. And then we came into last Labor Day, and people forget this. We didn't even know in Hamilton in the fall, going into November Grey Cup, if we were even allowed fans.
Yeah.
And so we were planning this event going, like, how do you put a Grey Cup on without fans? And so the restrictions started to lift, and then we were in a hurry up offense, if you will, to get everything up and running. And then we didn't know if we could have any parties around Grey Cup because the indoor venues still had restrictions. And so last year, even though we played, the season was still challenged. We were day to day, we didn't know where COVID was taking us. And not that we're saying we're out of COVID now. We all know COVID's still here and we're still managing it. But we have, coming now into 2022, we have a full season. We have a new CBA. We have, we know our restrictions we're allowed full attendance. Everything to me is we're out of where we were. We're managing forward, and it feels normal again. So now that we're back to that foundation, that it feels normal again, now we need to get to work and build and get our fan bases back to where they were and beyond.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and we've known each other for such a long time, you will. But in 2018 at the Grey Cup, an amazing thing happened. It turned from a Grey Cup into a family Grey Cup. And I just think that was a real explosion and a real brainwave. And that was getting families to take on what is really still Canada's celebration, not just the CFL's. But can you do that with the BC Lions? Make sure that it's a complete family event? I know that's one of the things you'll probably want to work on.
Yeah, and this is, I shared with you Amar Doman, and a tremendous new owner of the BC Lions. That's one of his key mandates. He wants every single kid. He doesn't even, obviously wants to know who the BC Lions are, but he wants people recognizing orange, making sure that they know who the club is, that just really grassroots family, supporting all football's huge in BC. I didn't realize how big it was there. And there's lots of people playing football, and just getting to that fan base, getting to those football players is important. And then that family atmosphere, and it's not necessarily all family, going younger, not younger, but making sure that everybody wants to come to the game and there's something for everybody there. And it is an important piece moving forward.
And in Vancouver, you've got a great base of high school football. You got some of the Catholic schools where there's some BC Lions history there with the likes of Lou Passalia and I just pulled a Halsey on that pronunciation.
And you're correct, by the way.
I used to call him Passaglia, but he was 3 years ahead of me when I was at St. Thomas More. You've got Simon Fraser University. You got the UBC Thunderbirds out there. It is a football breeding ground. You tap into that, you're starting off with a really good thing going, aren't you?
Absolutely. And I said this when I think Amar officially took over the team last summer, and he dove into that right away. He's just he instantly realized how important that was, and he's quite an amazing gentleman. But there's different ownership groups in the CFL. There's community teams, which in Edmonton very well. Edmonton, Saskatchewan, and Winnipeg are community. Then there's some individual owned teams, and then there's some corporate owned teams. Amar wants to he's an individual owner. He wants to run it like a community team would run it, and really just embrace the community and make, he's stated he just wants to make sure that it's team community first before everything else.
There's also been this surge, this positivity. Well, we've seen it in Edmonton with Victor Cui, who's understood that this mobile device thing that I'm holding in my hands, you want to get to a younger demo, that's how you got to do it. It's got to be a big challenge.
To all of us.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. But that's got to be part of the fun, is recognizing that things have changed. It used to be just TV and radio, but now, and newsprint, obviously, but now you got to get to the younger generation through this thing, right?
Absolutely. But like I just said, it's getting to all of us. We all capture our news and our content through our phones. So we need to embrace that. And And I think everybody is. It's just life is different, and it from the old days, and we're embracing it, and it's great. And you can the instant just having instant content is tremendous, obviously.
And there was, it started off as a comment. I can't remember who made it, but we were talking about the CFL can't just rely on a bunch of 60-year-old white guys. And all of us 60-year-old white guys took issue with that because we kind of like the league, but you can't be limited to that. And that's the challenge now in a lot of areas, Duane, whether it's the communication end, we're talking about the smartphone that everybody carries. You got to be true to your roots, but you also have to expand that fan base if there's going to be any room for growth. So how do you do that in a timely yet a fashion that you get people coming back through the turnstiles? Because that's the challenge. It's still a gate-driven league.
Absolutely. I'll tell you that again. I'll talk back about sort of Amar's Doman's strategy here, which is we talked about the grassroots piece and really embracing the community. That's one pillar. But another pillar is in football, you have the great ability in football to focus and make all home games an event. And if you can make an event and create an environment that isn't always just about the football game. Like, football's number one, don't get me wrong. That is the number one thing, that is our product. But if you can drive other audiences through other means, i.e., the One Republic concert that happened at the home opener and the street party, the vibe there, I wasn't there. It was killing me not to be there. But the vibe that I saw on social and the vibe that I saw on the broadcast was it felt like a Grey Cup. And if you create that atmosphere for all the games, that's going to drive your audiences. And then your fans, just the way you talked about, they're going to help you drive your audience because everybody's sharing their experiences. Everyone's talking about where they are. And so that's really sort of the strategy moving forward is grassroots, event-based marketing that you do not want to miss that event because you might not, you just want to make sure you be there. And that's sort of what we're going to work towards.
And here's the thing, Duane, and this is very different from when we were growing up, all three of us, especially Bryn and I, but you as well. If you can get it right, the game experience, the whole production on the game day, you're on to something because communication now isn't, a long-distance phone call or a letter to your Uncle Bob. It's, I went to the BC Lions game, and it was effing great. I had a great time. It's right now. Of course, if you get it wrong and somebody says this was really lame, that's the other edge of that sword. But if you can hit it, you can really grow quickly now, can't you?
Yeah, I believe so. But you don't. Nothing's quick, and there's you have to make those every day. You got to make those little decisions that get you there and grow to the future. And I truly believe that there's no quick fix. It's just doing all the right things every single day and grow your business every single day. And there's a point where momentum then takes over. And we just need to get it to that momentum piece and start to steamroll. When you're selling tickets for an event, like for Touchdown Atlantic as an example, we sold out in an hour.
Yeah.
Momentum took over. All of a sudden people were feeling like, I have to get this ticket. Like I won't get this ticket. And that momentum is that piece that you really, 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 guys like me want to focus on is momentum.
Hey, can we talk about that for a second? Because everybody out here would love to see a team in Halifax or in New Brunswick or whatever. Through your experiences with Touchdown Atlantic, tell us how you feel about that region and is it even a possibility or is it just a pipe dream that everybody out here west would like to see happen?
I think everybody would like to see it happen. I don't want to talk about a future team.
Yeah.
But what I will say is Touchdown Atlantic and we've been very public about this, is that we do Touchdown Atlantic. It helps us create a real coast to coast league. So, currently, and someday if a team comes there, great. But right now, this is our opportunity to do that. And, I just mentioned that we sold this game out in an hour. To me, that tells me that people are supportive of what we're trying to do and excited about us coming and really just supporting the region. We've had a couple of games, as you know, over time in Moncton this year. Well, in 2020, before the pandemic, we were going to be in St. Mary's in Halifax. They went through some construction and we weren't able to go back to St. Mary's. So that's why we looked at Acadia, but Acadia is a beautiful place. If people don't know where Acadia is, they don't necessarily know where Wolfville is if you're from Western Canada, but everyone's heard of the Bay of Fundy, and it's really right at the Bay of Fundy. And so we have some pictures. It's going to be tremendous. This stadium holds 900 people. We're building it up to 10,000 plus. It's sold out in an hour. We're basically building it from scratch, and it's just going to be a tremendous event. And we're really looking forward to it. A fun little fact is Wolfville. If you don't know, if you've ever been there, have you guys been there?
I've never gone to the Maritimes, and it's on my hit list, but it's almost cheaper to fly to London, England than it is to fly out to Halifax out of Edmonton, which is really criminal in a lot of ways, but I'd love to get out there.
Well, I'll come back to that point, but it's 4,000 people. The city of Wolfville is 4,000 people. This game is over 10. So if you put that into perspective, it starts to create what is going to be the atmosphere for this Touchdown Atlantic game. So tune in. Brent, if you're not getting there, make sure you're watching it on July the 6th.
Yeah. It's got a Rider feel about it already, does it not? When you're talking about smaller community, but the whole region is going to get on board here.
Absolutely. There's fans there. People bought tickets from all over the region that are coming to the game. There's a lot of fans that bought tickets from Regina and Saskatchewan. There's lots of fans that bought tickets from Toronto. So I think you're going to have a pretty good, healthy mix between visitors and local, and it's going to have a really, really good vibe to it. We always dub it as a bit of a mini Grey Cup as well. So in Halifax, in the lead up to the game on Saturday, we're having a bit of a sort of a mini Grey Cup festival, if you will, in downtown Halifax on the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it's going to be great. And everybody in the East Coast is just looking forward and excited for us to come. Plus, it's their busiest weekend of the year. They have like jazz festival and a pride event, and we're just trying to be a part of the community and support them as much as we can.
Outstanding. Duane, a couple of final things for me. First, I always thought that you did a tremendous job here with the Rush, being a West Coast guy and a guy who actually played lacrosse for many years. I thought you guys did a hell of a job. When you're out in the Lower Mainland, you know this already. The Western Lacrosse Association is out there, and there's a lot of good lacrosse being played in your neighborhood, whether it's Coquitlam or Vancouver or New Westminster, wherever. The other thing is this, and there's a lot of buzz lately, and I know it's early and you're not on the field and on the team personnel side. The buzz over this Nathan Rourke has got to be exciting. To have a Canadian quarterback come in, any quarterback, but especially a Canadian, it's early, but do what he's done and create a buzz. That's just a big plus for everybody with the organization going forward, isn't it?
Absolutely. I saw someone on the weekend say that, everyone in the first week was, the buzz was how well a Canadian quarterback did. And this weekend, I think it's time to drop the Canadian part. Like the kid is great and he's a great quarterback and he's playing well. But to your point, he, being a local to the Vancouver area is just tremendous. And so having Nathan having the success and the entire team having the success they're having out of the gate and having Nathan, the Canadian quarterback, which we're going to just make him a great quarterback. And I gave the air quotes there.
Yes.
And is exciting. And, you know, you can just feel his star power is growing quickly, and he'll be very, it's just perfect. It's just perfect timing for the BC Lions.
Almost 20 years in this biz. What have you learned over the last 20 years or so that you're going to be able to apply to the BC Lions here as you step in August?
You know, number one focus for me is I'm a builder. You guys have known I like to build things. Built the Edmonton Rush from scratch. I like to dive into things like Grey Cups and build them from scratch. And so I like to build. It's something that is very attractive to me. So through all my experiences, there's different ways to build. And the number one thing for me is let's get these audiences, let's get these fan bases in BC Place up to those numbers where they were. And I asked people all the last week and on the weekend, you know, what era was, you know, the 35,000 people going to games? What era was the 40,000 plus people? And just trying to understand the timing of it all. And because in that stadium, once it gets to, you know, that 40,000, I know from Commonwealth, once you hit 40, that's almost like it is the vibe. It is a strong vibe in there. So that's our goal, and build fan base and make everyone proud of the team and make it really exciting through the event piece as well.
You have some interesting competition in town that are also very supportive. You have the Canucks, you have the Whitecaps. I even would say the Seattle Seahawks are a little bit of competition, and also there's got to be some synergies between all these teams to make it all work for all these teams, does there not?
Yeah, obviously it's too early for me to answer that question, Bryn. I just don't, I would agree with your comment, but I just, I look at that as a bit of an outsider looking at it. There's really no the answer to that, but of course, you know, you talk about competition, there's competition today in everything we do.
Right.
You know, and more than ever before. So to me, it's about not worrying about competition. It's making your event the one that everybody wants to go to.
Yeah, you know what? Having that happen again, when I was still in J school, I would be on the sidelines with my little camera when BC Place first opened, when Mervyn Fernandez was catching footballs for the BC Lions and Jerry Taggy was the quarterback and Joe Pow. And they needed that upper deck. That's what I would love to see for Vancouver, where you need that upper deck open. You open that upper deck because you need it, you're on your way.
Absolutely. And let's be very real here. That is a goal. That is where we want to be, and we're going to do everything in our power to get there. I
would say the same thing to Victor Cui. We've got to get nicknames back into. We need another throw-in Samoan. We need more crazy names like, a Dirty 30. Hey, listen, thanks for your time. Good luck with the transition. We know you're going to knock it out of the ballpark. It'll be a lot of fun for you, but thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Bryn, Robin. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Duane.
Well, we're slowly moving into the summer months, and like any good teammate, the realtors over at the Macintosh Group will assist you in selling your home. Now, here's the goal: to sell your home for the most amount of money in the least amount of time with little to no stress. Wayne Gretzky was no stranger to breaking and setting records. Well, the Edmonton single-family real estate market, breaking records to kick things off here in 2022, slows down a little bit as we get into the summer, but that's no big deal. But it does tell you one thing. It's so important to hire a professional with the skills to work in the ever-changing market that we're living in. Now, if you're looking for a Hall of Fame experience when selling your home, then give Brent or anybody at the Macintosh Group at RE/MAX River City a call at 780-464-0075, or you can find them online at macintoshgroup.ca. Both buyers and sellers, give them a shout. They'll be able to tell you exactly how the market is going. And one last thing, when you give them a shout, make sure you tell them the Outsider sent you. Wow, that was a fun show today. I really enjoyed it. Great to have Daren Millard on, and also to be chatting with Duane Vienneau, who is going to have a real job in front of him, and he'll be up to the task with the BC Lions, so that was a blast. Hey, your thoughts on the Stanley Cup Final? Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. It looked like it was going to be a romp through the first 2 games, and then you get a big, big effort out of the defending champs, who were great defending champs at a challenging time, Robin.
Yeah, you know what? It didn't surprise me. I mean, I'll be honest, I thought the Lightning would beat the odds before the series started and make it 3 in a row. They're a hell of a team, and you learn how to win. But I tell you what, that Colorado team is something special, and they've been waiting their turn. This is not a team that just got good 5 minutes ago. They've been a very good team and building towards something for 2 or 3 years now, at least, even through some tough times with COVID. Good for them, man. They're so talented. Nathan McKinnon, what a player. Cale Makar, as we discussed. I mean, you go from, and you know what? He's still got the rosy cheeks. He looks like he's 15 years old, for crying out loud. What a player. What a team. I thought it was an excellent Stanley Cup final. We talk about how you lose interest when a team from your city or your region's not in it. That's probably true to an extent, but that was a hell of a Stanley Cup final. I thought it was great. Gabriel
Landeskog waited 10 years, not 3 years, not 5 years, 10 years for that moment, and it was very special for him. So congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche. Jay Woodcroft signs a contract extension with the Edmonton Oilers. Duh. I don't have any problem with that one at all. I just thought he did a remarkable job coming in and taking over, obviously. Yep. But any thoughts on Jay?
Yeah, I wrote about him the other day at Oilers Nation. He just is one of the coaches who has the knack, and it doesn't come by accident. He's worked on how to communicate with players, how to set out what he wants, what he expects, the way he wants the game to be played, and he's got a connection with his players. They like to play for Jay Woodcroft. And you know what? You can talk about the old days when it was about respect and, you didn't have to be pals with the coach. I tell you what, and that's true. There's coaches throughout the years who won without that palsy-walsy angle to their relationship. It doesn't hurt if the players not only think you know what you're doing, but they like you. And I think this group wants to play for Jay Woodcroft, and I think that showed.
We'll obviously talk about the Edmonton Elks, the Calgary Stampeders, and the BC Lions more, because now we're moving into the football season. But that's pretty much it for today. That was, as I said, that was a fun show. Hey, make sure you check us out on Twitter. The handle's really simple. It's @Outsiders2020. And you can also drop us an email at theoutsiders@shaw.ca. Make sure you tell your friends to follow us and click on the RSS feed on any of your favorite ear candy sites like Apple, Google, Spotify, Pocket Casts, etc., etc. And we're also on YouTube. There's an audio version on YouTube as well. Robin records from the Lucky Sam studio in Southwest Edmonton. I'm recording from the Road 55 studio in downtown Edmonton. And your support and your feedback is greatly appreciated. Robin, anything else? Did we miss anything? We've covered a lot.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. That was a hell of a show. I'm happy with it.
All right, great. Well, thanks, Robin. And everybody, we'll talk to you next week.
Fun storming the castle.
Road 55.